Tyler Lee, red and black, home of the state championship plaque. But in '05 will still be holding, so I know we had to bring it back. Something about Tyler, cause them boys straight jack. Division 1-5A wasn't ready for the '04 sack attack. Boy, you should've stopped when they told you turn your head and caught, but instead you played us and took a loss. I tried to tell them we were the Lone Star boss. I mean, why else would they take a delay a game on the coin toss? So quit delaying the game, boy, we've had enough. Matter of fact, either make the call or just hang up, cause you just ain't tough enough. Go ahead and call a bluff and see if we can't beat you in blindfolds and handcuffs. Why you standing there looking amazed with no clue? Y'all need to find another sport our drill team could take you. I guess that's just how the Red Raiders will do. Y'all can have your whole school on the field and we'll still run through. You better play ace of base and see the sign. You're running for your life if you ever get caught behind enemy lines. Might as well take a knee and start praying. That's why all year the Red Raiders been saying, how you feeling, Red? You know. Texas State champ, oh show. Stop Tyler Lee, oh no. If you wanna come get it, let's go. How you feeling, Red? You know. Texas State champ, oh show. Stop Tyler Lee, oh no. If you wanna come get it, let's go. If you ain't winning, go ahead and close your lips. Got a whole team of captains, we just took over the ship. They falling down and blaming it on the slip, cause they know we deal our most shots in a 6-foot clip. Yup, better watch those running backs, they love to climb. The only thing our receivers dropping, other team morale. Try to cross that line and get put in the grind. And with dual option QBs, what you gon' do now? Meet the linebackers D-line if you want some. Try to hit for the end zone if you want your body numbed. It's like meeting Roy Williams coming across the middle, son. Cause our corners and safety make sure your career is done. Check out our pep rallies, boy, I mean man. With 3 times as many fans and 100 rocking band. Cheerleaders on handstands, pro group of these gentlemen. And I promise, we got the best mobs in the land. Come take a seat in the stands and watch us wreck. Taking out teams from here to Waco, back up to the Metroplex. Spring West the flex and got put to rest. By the time we left the Alamo Dome, it was who's next. How you feeling, Red? You know. Texas State champ, oh show. Stop Tyler Lee, oh no. If you wanna come get it, let's go. How you feeling, Red? You know. Texas State champ, oh show. Stop Tyler Lee, oh no. If you wanna come get it, let's go.
Are we live?
We're macaroni and cheese. Round 2.
Boom.
We couldn't wait. Had to start something up. I mean, training camp has started. 6 days.
6 days.
Until NFL preseason football. What do you know about that?
I'm ready.
Dallas Cowboys, Arizona Cardinals, Hall of Fame game.
Man, you told me that the other day, and you said that they were playing the Hall of Fame game, and I instantly got pumped.
I mean, it's just
ridiculous.
It's hype city. I'm ready for it, man.
I'm ready.
Are you ready for this show tonight?
I'm ready for the show. I've been jonesed up all day.
Me too. I mean, all week. We were like, Tuesday rolled around, we're like, hey, let's do another show. I mean, it's just pretty random whenever we decide to do it.
It is. I got to interject and just give a shout out to Hayes Howard and Megan Howard. I told them I would.
Oh.
So.
Shut up!
Love y'all.
Yeah.
Love y'all.
So, this episode, what is there to talk about right now in the fantasy football game? There's lots, man. There's lots. You know,
doesn't seem like there is, but there is. There's stuff going on.
There is. Let me see if I can double check that we are good to go.
I saw it. I got it.
Yeah, I think I see it too. Okay, cool.
Hey, I got pants on too, for the record.
Yeah, he wanted to let everybody know that he had pants on, and it wasn't the no pants party.
Yeah, I'm not going to command.
We got a lot to talk about, though. It's getting close to the wire where you guys are about to start your drafts here in a few weeks, probably. But you're putting in those last-minute adjustments, and we're going to give you some suggestions. I know last time we kind of touched on a few things, but we wanted to just devote an entire episode to league setup. And we're going to also dive pretty deep into auction drafts and give you some of our strategies. They'll be different. And we kind of leak each other's game plan sometimes.
I hate this.
But, it is what it is. I hate you sometimes. I mean,
I get it. Most people do.
You're going to know what's up my sleeve. But we're going to talk about the do's and don'ts, league setup. what we found works best: structure, rules, the setting up the draft, free agent auction bidding. We'll give you some strategies on that, and transactions, keepers, and then dive into auction drafts hardcore because that is our passion. We campaign for that now.
Snakes are old.
They're
tired.
They suck.
Tired.
They're so boring. I mean, I can do.
Don't do a snake. I'll do it in my sleep. A snake in my sleep.
Literally.
It's like you just follow the ADP list, and you're like, oh, okay, I'll take Keenan Allen. Okay, great. No, make it hard.
When auto draft could almost draft as good as anybody, it's not.
I'm not sure.
There's no talent.
Show up to a snake this year.
It's crazy. Let's see here. What do we want to talk? Oh, we forgot about. We want to talk a little bit about shit shows. So, what, Nolan Howard? What is your shit show?
Okay, so I mean, I know we were talking about this, and we welcome feedback for all of our shows. But someone asked me this week, "What is the shit show? What is that?" And I was like, "It's not self-explanatory. I mean, just like Urban Dictionary shit show and see what comes up. Basically, it's something dumb that's happened this week, and I'm gonna kind of steal yours. We kind of had the same one, really, but I'm gonna go with that Baltimore quarterback situation over there. And as y'all know, Joe Flacco's hurt his back. It may or may not be serious, but they were talking about signing Colin Kaepernick, which, if he's on your team, it's pretty much a shit show.
It's a Harbaugh thing too. I mean,
Harbaugh. I don't know if I like Harbaugh.
Is that how you say that?
Harbaugh.
Yeah, I mean, it's like one of the brothers had him, pumped up that hype, and then now the other brothers wanting to get on board.
I kind of like Harbaugh.
Harbaugh is kind of like, it reminds me of gummy bears a little bit.
Harbaugh. But basically, they, instead of signing Colin Kaepernick, they went with an arena league quarterback named Olsen, who's never played in the NFL, and I'm pretty sure he's 6 foot tall. I mean, it's a shit show. And then in the first practice without Flacco, you got the backup quarterback Ryan Mallett over there. He throws a pick and melts down. I mean, like full on, like I am third grade. I am kicking and screaming on the ground, beating my head, meltdown.
I mean,
it's a shit show.
He couldn't get it done at Houston, where there was no quarterback to even name. Ryan Mallett couldn't get it done.
If he's on your roster, it may be a shit show. I mean, but there's not a lot going on. So
we have a shout out request. Megan missed your shout out. So
Megan missed my shout out. What I want to do is I'm going to look into the camera real deep and I'm going to say, "Hi, Megan Howard. Hi, Hayes Howard. I love y'all. I'm glad you're watching." Was that weird?
That was a little uncomfortable. I don't know, uncomfortable-ish. So not only does Joe Flacco get hurt, but Kenneth Dixon also meniscus goes in for surgery. Doesn't go well, people. He's out for the season. Now but you're looking at Terrence West, which is going to be great because he was nothing, nobody, and now you can roster him. I think he's going to move up to like the 6th,
probably
something like that.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but and they signed Bobby Rainey.
Bob Rico.
He's the force of the league. He is the force of the league. I don't know if you're familiar.
Coined that phrase.
He did. So they got that going for him, and then they got Daniel Woodhead, who doesn't run in between the tackles really. Danny's going to be the same that Danny was going to be without Kenneth Dixon anyway. So
yeah, I actually think that maybe Danny gets a little uptick.
Oh, he does.
I mean,
he does
because Terrence West is.
He's going around. He's going around 6.
Round out of my team.
Oh, Terrence West?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that he's going to have to be pretty late down there, but you'll see people reaching up for him now. But he is a starting running back in the NFL. I mean, they're hard to come by.
Definitely.
I mean, there's only 32 of them.
I don't know who I want more, him or Lacey.
Oof. 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 I don't want nothing to do with that.
No.
Let me talk about my shit show. My shit show hits close to home.
Uh-oh.
Not because I've ever been in trouble with the law, but because it's like close to home, like Dallas, kind of close to home.
You've been stealing jewelry?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not just Joseph Randalling it, but so Lucky Whitehead, not so Lucky Whitehead. He apparently gets. I feel like he got framed by the Cowboys almost because they didn't want him, and they're like, "Hey, you know, the police wrongly accused him, and if the glove don't fit, you got to quit." So they kind of let him go and literally let him go and see you later. And he wasn't that good. And Ryan Switzer's going to step. He's bigger. He's going to catch more balls. I like it a little better. So goodbye to Lucky Whitehead. That's a shit show. But guess what? Guess where he went? Just guess. The New York Jets. So they needed depth at receiver.
Do they? I mean, I know the receivers.
He's got to go to a practice squad somewhere. If you can't make it on the Jets and with nobody on their team, then you can't make it.
It's bad.
That is bad.
It's bad. It's a shit show.
Another injury I wanted to bring up before we got into it was Devontae Booker.
Yeah.
A little wrist action. He hurt his wrist, and it just makes C.J. Anderson look more enticing.
I mean, if you like C.J. Anderson,
if you like that sort of thing,
I ticked him up in my rankings this week.
I know it kills you how good it's starting to look.
Okay, so C.J. Anderson had those 3 games like 2 years ago, where at the end of the season he was just like a beast,
right?
And he was going to be the starter.
Right.
And I mean, like, he's a top 5 draft.
Well, last year he beasted up the club at the beginning of the year.
I understand, but I drafted him when he was a top 5 draft pick, and he did absolutely nothing.
C.J. Spillered you.
He C.J. Spillered me. He did absolutely nothing. And then the next year, I was like, okay, you know what? I'll go ahead and draft him again this year. And you know what happened? He gets hurt. And he's dead to me. I mean, if we had the dead to me deal right here, I mean, I'd be throwing C.J. Anderson up there right now.
We still have his picture for that somewhere.
But he's actually.
There's a lot of dead to me players that were on our dead to me poster last year that are like, I'm like, Deshaun Jackson's.
Yeah. Boomer bust.
Okay, let's get into it.
All right.
The dues. What do? You do auction drafts. We already said that. Another thing you do, research. How much do you research, Old Howard?
How much do I research? I'm embarrassed to say. I don't want to. Okay, so here's my avenues of research, right? Okay. I listen to fantasy sports radio. I don't really have it on another channel. That's all I do. I just listen to that. I look at injury reports daily. Like, I know.
Yeah, you're the injury guru. If we didn't have you on the team, on the stat guy and the injury guru right there.
I'm really a color man.
I'm not. I'm more like I'm the eyeball guy. I like
You're like the star. You're Colin Coward, and I'm like your color guy in the back.
Oh,
maybe not Colin Coward. I'll give you like a.
I'm not that controversial.
No, you're not controversial. It's just you're the star of the show, and I feel like I'm the color guy. You remember on Major League where there's that guy and he was like, "Hey, we don't call him the best colored man in the league for nothing." And he was like, "Yeah, that's me."
Okay,
that's what I do.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
Yeah, I love that movie. But yeah, I do a lot of research. So I'm looking at the injury report daily. I'm listening to fantasy sports radio. I subscribe to a couple sites, and then I do my own research that I'm looking up stuff on a daily basis. And so I put it all together.
So research is important when you're getting ready to draft, but it's also important if you're doing league setup. So what I like to do if I'm building a new league, a lot of stuff I use from our main league.
Yeah,
and
it's a good league.
But then if I need to look at other leagues and what they do, I do that a lot. I'll even look at fantasy baseball league sometime.
What?
Yeah, I mean, I can't name 3 baseball players. Don't get it twisted. I can't name 3. I would bet you $100, and not because I'm like trying not to. I could not name 3 baseball players that are currently playing. But anyway,
ouch. But
it's just not my thing.
But baseball leagues are similar.
Yeah, they are, and they have you just have to look at it for the body of it. I mean, what they're doing, because you're still trading, you still need to catch shady people doing stuff to get around rules. And I mean, you can see stuff that you're just like, man, I would have never thought of that. Sure. We need to introduce that to my fantasy football league. So research that. Look at everything. Look everywhere. Get ideas from us right now. One of the big things, and I know we've talked about this in the past, is having a league committee or a council instead of, don't ever have a league vote for anything, because just think about it. Just think about it like this. Think about, if you're a commissioner especially, think about just getting everybody to draft at the same time on the same day. What an ass whip that is.
Or getting your league payment in.
Oh my God,
it's a
beatdown. You have to start beating that. You got to beat that horse.
You already sent out 2
emails.
I beat
that horse in July. I mean, it's just like, because what happens is everybody gets to when it's draft time and they've got 9 leagues and they're like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to pay you like next week. But no, you need to go ahead and get it out the way right here,
right.
And then 2 paydays from now you can handle your other crappy leagues. This is the creme de la creme leagues.
Hey, I'll win most of them, so
whatever. But yeah, have a committee. Get 3 people that you trust. So there's different votes, or there's a tiebreaker vote. And then if you have anything come up where one of the league council members are involved, then you reach out to other players in the league, just to make sure that you're not heavy on one side or the other, especially if it's a split vote between the 2 other people.
Exactly.
If you have 2 trades or a trade between 2 council members, then you definitely have to.
You got to have like reserve council members that can step in. But I think it's important to rotate the council throughout the league. So if you have the same council each and every year, maybe it's one rotates off, and then you grab another member of the league and whatnot. They need to be active and know what they're doing. But I think it's important to get different perspectives on league rules.
A lot of people don't want the responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, I've rotated off. I've straight up told Zach before, no, I'm not going to be on the committee this year.
I got kids. I got things to do. I've got another job. I've got to do the fantasy showdown. I mean, there's important things out there besides being a councilman.
No doubt.
But I like running things because that's just like how I am. It's like, I like it my way, and if you don't like it, then just go to another league. I mean, like, that's how I do it. It's like, if I don't like something, I'm like, this was fun, and I'll just kind of not sign up the next year. Usually I don't even text anybody and be like, hey, I'm not playing this year. They're like, hey, where's this guy? And it's just like, no, I'm kidding. I'm not that big of an ass sometimes.
Maybe.
But next thing you need to do is have some pretty good bylaws in place, because the ESPN, CBS, and all that stuff, they can only block so much stuff.
That's right.
So you have to have your own bylaws, and you have to enforce them.
That you do. You know what we got to do for everybody is maybe post some of our bylaws on the site.
We have it.
So
we have it on the site. If you go to articles and shows.
You already did that?
I did.
You're on top of it.
There's an article on there, and it's got nothing but screenshots of our league. I'm just telling you.
So
that's a good place to look. I will share the link again on the Facebook page for you.
You don't want to say instead, what you need to do is go to our articles and look at the bylaws that are posted.
Yeah, I mean,
because they're great.
Yeah, there you go. Dude, look at the other articles. I mean, I like to write a lot more than I like to do anything. Because I like punctuation. I'm just a big fan. I like commas. Like,
you like periods and exclamation marks.
I sent out an email to my managers because there's been a fake email that's using my name, and I'm like, you'll always know it's me if there's 9 commas in the first sentence. That's how I roll. I like to use which and but and which and then and if.
However,
Yeah.
I like however.
I like them. But okay, so also have at least a half-point PPR these days.
Yeah, if you're not doing a PPR and some, you know, I don't like full point.
Maybe not a fourth one. I don't know, just something.
Some kind of PPR. It just pulls everybody together. I think, you know, especially in the running back position, you know, the Danny Woodheads of the world become viable, and that's good. It makes the position deeper. Yeah, it makes the rich get richer a little bit at the top end, like Antonio Brown. But at the end of the day, I think it helps more than it hurts.
Yeah. Let's see. The tenth of a point, I like that a lot. The tenth of a point per yard. That's a. I mean, if somebody gets 3 yards at the end of the game and you don't get the point,
no point for that,
and you're just neck and neck with somebody, I mean, it could be the difference.
And you don't get as many ties.
Yeah, you don't.
There's not as many ties.
There's not as many.
And ties are death.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not gonna make the playoffs with them.
Let's see. Make sure your league is trade friendly. You gotta have it set up for trades. We always encourage trades.
What do you do, Chad, with the trades? You know, because let's be honest about it. Like, you know, we're buddies. We trade a lot, and you know, but we're hagglers. But what about like that? How do you veto a trade?
How do you veto a trade? It all depends. I mean, if it's a keeper league, then it's just like you can't. It's just like there's an argument for every single angle. I mean, because value. You can put value in one hand and shit in the other, and it weighs the same. I'm just saying, because if you value somebody as keeper value, then, I mean, oh, I'm having problems with this video.
Is it?
Rutro.
What?
Rutro.
I don't know. I don't have it playing. I'm just keeping up with
It wouldn't be the same without some kind of technical difficulties. Okay, are we up? Are we up? I think we're up.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, anyway. So yeah, it's hard to veto a trade in a keeper league because value sets in, and I mean I could value anybody.
Next year's keeper value, the year after that.
I mean, I can sit here and say so and so is going to be the starter next year, and I don't know that.
Nobody knows that.
But I can make you believe that.
Sure.
Because I'm a salesman. I mean, I'm not a salesman, but in fancy I am.
Yeah. Hey.
But let's see here. I'm hoping we're not having technical difficulties. But
Did somebody say something?
No, but I'm. It's just on mine.
I feel like we would have got a.
Okay.
Working fine for me, says Megan Elizabeth Howard.
Cool. Okay. Another thing that you should do is have some kind of punishment for last place. I think that we need to step that up in a couple of our leagues. In my Kid Jones league, we have a trophy that has a turd on the top of it.
I've seen that.
And it's the last place one. The problem is like that's kind of a rotating league where, you know, it's not completely serious. It is, but there's always like 1 or 2 spots.
Sure.
And usually it's the last place that bones out, and you're like, well, you're supposed to hold this trophy, but I don't want to give it to you because I might not ever see it again. So anyway, but I really would like it to sit on Glenn Graves' desk eventually, but that's just me. One of the things we wanted to do at one point was make somebody wear a pink Eli Manning jersey to the draft.
That's right.
And that would have been great. 3 sizes too small.
Yeah, I mean, you need to see some belly button. Like, if you're going to come to the draft in a pink Eli jersey, you got to see some belly button. I mean, I'm just saying.
Oh, man. So, let's see here. What about the don'ts? What do you don't want to have?
You know, there's a lot of don'ts. Number one is divisions. Okay, so we were talking about this the other day with our commissioner,
Yes.
and uh, divisions. There's a scenario in which you could win the division and get a first round bye, but you were maybe the fifth best record in the league.
Mm-hmm.
That's not fair. I mean, the two best records in the league need to get the first round buys,
Mm-hmm.
and then do it accordingly. So you ought to go off total record for the league. I mean,
And sorry, Nick, because that happened something similar to that
in the
in the J.A.R.V.I.S league, because we just skipped over that in
it,
the setup where it's important to talk about setup.
it's important to talk about it. It wouldn't have mattered. I mean, I handled Nick, but anyway, the point is, it's that you need to make it as fair as possible, and that's as fair as possible. No divisions. The top six teams or top four teams or whatever you're doing in your league make the playoffs. I recommend six in a 12-team league.
Yeah.
And they make the playoffs, and the top two records in the league get buys. When you're playing in a 12-team league, I mean, you're playing everybody anyway, so there's really no point to the division.
Yeah.
I mean,
Don't do divisions, and don't have kickers.
No.
We already covered don't have league votes ever.
Don't have league votes.
Don't change the setting mid-season. I like, it's like with the thing we were just talking about. We skipped over the divisions thing. You can't just in the middle of the season be like, oh shit, I forgot that, and change it. Last year was a good example for me because in the Kid Jones League, it's been around for 7 years, and sometimes, there's things that haven't happened. And one of them was the return 2-point conversion because, there's a lot more two-point tries.
Sure.
And so that's something that we didn't encounter much. Well, I didn't have it set for the defense to score that, I think.
Really?
Something like that. And it was in the playoffs, and had it been a 2-point game, then it would have screwed a lot of things up, but it ended up, it was like a 10-point difference. But I was like, oh, noted for next year. But the rest of my leagues were good. But it's just like I'm saying, I mean, there's some things that you need to refresh your commissioner, check things. I mean, especially for long-standing leagues. Like our league, we look at stuff every single year.
Every year.
Every year because we're making changes all the time, too. You want to keep it fresh with changes.
Keep it fresh. And then, with the mid-season change thing, that's general rules. I mean, I kind of bulk this under the Mike Taylor thing because occasionally something's going to come up that needs to be fixed immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And, take for instance, we had a league where if you lost and you scored the fewest amount of points, you got the first waiver pick. We'll talk about later how you need to go fab budget anyway, but that's the way the league was set up. And our guy, Mike Taylor, who's shady-ish, I'll get out, chose not to.
You make the league better.
He does make the league better, but he chose not to play at quarterback.
He was playing against me, and he benched him, and he wasn't playing against me, but we were neck and neck for the shittiest week one performance. And I had my starting lineup out there. I had my quarterback in, and I was like, man, this is going to come in shitty. And at some point, you're like, man, let's go shitty. Because you wanted to get that first. If you're not going to win, you might as well get that first waiver pick. And that's what he did. He benched his quarterback. And
Peyton Manning, who back then was scoring 25 a game.
Mm-hmm.
And in an effort to get that pick, so what we did is a council, we got together and we said, you know what? This isn't fair. Let's fix it. Let's put Peyton in there. Let's change his points so that the continuity of the league keeps going. So with that, things come up that you may have to fix on the fly. But as a general rule, I mean, don't go in there and change from a 4-point per quarterback TD to a 6-point per quarterback TD. Don't do stuff like that. But if something comes up, you got to use your head too.
Yeah, sometimes you got to adjust. It's just like that 2-point deal. We would have probably adjusted that.
That's right.
So another don't have your Super Bowl in week 17.
Why is that?
Because nobody's
playing.
Nobody play. Aaron Rodgers ain't
He
playing.
ain't playing. And if he does,
Hey, Aaron is not playing.
Hey, Aaron. Hey, Aaron.
Hey, Aaron.
But he's playing a quarter at best.
At best.
Jay Quillen ain't playing either.
T-Bone ain't playing.
No.
I'm just saying, you're not going to get any of your starters. If they're going to the playoffs, their seed doesn't change, nothing changes, then, that's why you don't do it.
That's exactly right.
So, let's see. Another don't that we have is don't lock lineups until the individual player's game kicks off. There are leagues that do that. I've seen
like early.
Yeah, they lock shit at noon on Sunday for all of it. So your Monday night game is locked. That's stupid. That's stupid. Don't do that.
That happen.
It's just dumb.
I mean, what if you're running back? What if you have David Johnson and he's dealing with an ankle, and you got to make that choice on Thursday?
Yeah.
Because you got Thursday night football.
Oh man, there's been some leagues, that'll lock it Thursday.
Thursday night.
What are you doing?
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't
shit.
do that. You should be able to change it if that player has not played. And
11:59.
You should be changing shit if you want.
Yeah, you should. Let's see. Let's talk about structure. What's a good number of league members for you?
I like a 12 to 14 team league. I mean, 12 is my preference, but 14s are fun too.
Yeah.
Don't go 10 or 8 because everybody's stacked and it doesn't matter.
Dude, 8s are really tricky because I'm in 1-8 and it's tricky.
Now.
Oh, you're in that league with me? Oh, dude, we're gonna bring that one home.
Dude, I think I got Melody Gordon as a keeper in that league. I'm so pumped.
Oh yeah, man, it's gonna be fun. But yeah, it's tricky, man, because everybody's stacked, like you said, and you just have to have that one. Tight end is important in that one.
Yeah, I know.
Because that's that one position. Because everybody's going to go ham every week, so you got to have somebody that goes a little extra ham, a little sauce on
defenses.
Yeah, defenses are pretty important too. What about roster spots?
I like going quarterback, couple running backs. I like going 2 or 3 wide receivers, and then I like going a couple flexes. Remove that tight end and kicker because it's dumb. And then the defense, and if you're going to stay on the fresh end, you're going to try to stay on the end where you're trying to be ahead of the curve, then you should be trying to go IDP instead of the team defense. Because don't get me wrong, ESPN fixed the, the pick 6 deal, but, it's still.
I'm going to be interested to see how that actually works.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough for them.
I might start the Jags D this year because, Blakey B.
Blakey B ain't going to be throwing it in the dirt
I'm all right with it.
To the defensive lineman that's 5 feet away. It's that drop. It's all about his.
He keeps it down here low.
His progression or whatever you call it.
He's keep it up here high.
He starts it up there and then he likes to tap his nuts and then let it go. It's like rubbing it for luck or something. I don't know what it is, but it hangs out down there for a minute before he throws it, and that's why he's horrible. He's not horrible for fantasy, but I'm saying
I know what you mean.
You can't watch it. You can't watch it.
You
can have him on your fantasy team,
first half,
but you can't watch it. You will go insane, dude. Last year, I was writing articles about how much I hated this.
Dude, I was starting him every week because it was like, man, I know he scores 3 in the first half, but he scored 17 in the second half.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm all right with that. 20's 20.
Turd sandwich.
Anyway.
Let's see. We talked about PPR a little bit. Let's see the core of it.
Let's do the quarterbacks. That 4 or 6 points.
Oh yeah. Did we skip that? I'm sorry.
We skipped
scoring. That's big.
So quarterbacks 4 or 6 points. Most of the leagues you play interval. I'm thinking on the cutting edge 6 because think about it. Aaron Rodgers is going to score more points than anybody else. Or Tom Brady, whoever you like. He's going to score more points than anybody else in the league this year. And he's going to go 30-30. That's dumb. Go ahead and go to 6-point TDs. I know this is dumb. It's not the norm, but go to 6-point TDs so Aaron Rodgers makes more of a difference. That's just my opinion.
No, I mean, I feel you. I did 5 points in the Kid Jones
I think
League,
it's
and
a
I
good
love
happy
that.
medium.
I love that medium right there. I mean, because they're valuable, but they're not through the roof. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
but I like.
yeah, I mean,
Nah, I mean, but you know what I think is I'd like every position, not necessarily tight end because that needs to be a flex, but running back, wide receiver, quarterback. I'd like to see them go in the first round of the draft. I'd like to see the position, equalize because right now, you're going to go 3 running backs, you're going to go 4 wide receivers, and then it's trash at the end of the first round. And but I'd like to see Aaron Rodgers go in the first round of the draft.
well, you used to see it. I mean, you saw it the year that he got hyped up. I took him in the first round. I can't make a team with a quarterback in the first round.
Did that work out good for you?
No. Nick was asking about the flex position. I like going, dude, for one thing, with us, we don't like the tight end, really, because it's such a garbage position. It's just, I mean, it's not a garbage position, but it is for fantasy when you have 12 teams and you only have 5 tight ends that are even worth discussing.
And okay, so it's 4 and
speaking of fairness, how's that fair?
It ain't fair. And if you spend that pick on Gronk early, he gets hurt, and your team is boned. It's boned. I gotta say this because I'm reading this on Facebook. If you're winning money, it doesn't matter how much you spend because I win money.
As long as you get out more than you put in every year,
I'm cashing checks.
I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
I am too. Like last year was not the best year I've ever had, but I came out even.
Dude, I bought my kid 2 years ago a train table with fantasy football wins, and I got my wife on Facebook talking about how much.
I think Dustin Glover bought wood floors one time with fantasy money. Yeah, just saying. I mean, you can. I had a phenomenal year 2 years ago where I don't even want to brag about it. It was so good.
Dude, hey.
I mean, I was paying my
There might be some
bills.
IRS people here listening. Don't
Yeah, I'm not. Oh man. So yeah, we like to flex that tight end instead of having the actual tight end spot. Give you the option because even that 3rd or 4th wide receiver that you could be potentially flexing in there, it could be along the same lines as a iffy tight end. I mean, if you're starting a wide receiver 3 there, like a true one on an NFL team,
like Taylor Gabriel.
Yeah, I mean, you could get the same game out as like Julius Thomas last year or something. That's kind of a terrible comparison, but I mean, that's you're starting Julius Thomas in fantasy football. It feels like starting a kicker.
Nobody
wants to do that crap. So anyway, we like to flex that. Get rid of the kicker, flex your tight end, and maybe have 2 flexes instead of have 2 flexes. Have a running back, wide receiver flex, and then a tight end wide receiver flex.
That's right.
Something else with let's see, I mean, you can do whatever you want as far as setup, but I mean, people are going to play in whatever leagues they like to play in. I like head to head. There's some people that like total points, some people that like a mix. And if you like the mix, then you have to go with a site that can handle it. Usually you're paying $100 for that. So
sure.
That's going to be the people that are willing to step up and pay a little extra for your buy-in. But, I mean, do what you want to do. Keeper leagues are good. I like.
You need to have a strong league, though. You need to have a strong league that's coming back every year.
Right. If you're going to do a keeper league, you don't want to have somebody that rotating bottom 2 spots or something because all you're doing is trying to find somebody to take over garbage.
Our crop team, and then they leave, and then you're constantly rotating.
Yeah, and Fubu, if he was here, he'd be telling you all about dynasty leagues. And honestly, I can't knock anything about it because I haven't ever played in one. Yeah, I've never played in a dynasty just because I'm just like, man, it's another one of those deals where you can't find a solid group that's going to stay and do it.
You got to do that rookie draft.
And
I don't want no part of Fubu in a dynasty league.
No, dude.
Really?
He knows people that are in high school
that
are getting ready to go off in 5 years. Hey, 5 years from now, this dude right here playing for the Lindell Eagles, he's going to be.
He typically drafts them a year to 2 years too early.
Yeah, he had Tyler Eifert,
which works out
the
good
year
for
that
us.
he got it. Yeah, because he always gives us leads.
But he is going to be dangerous in the dynasty.
Oh yeah, that's why he keeps pushing for it in our league.
No, I ain't doing it.
We talked about bylaws, commissioners, and council. Draft setup, scheduling. So many people at one time. We talked about that. It's tough. It's tough. But you want to if you're not all getting together, you want to do that on a weekend, obviously, so everybody can drink and have a good time. But if you're not all getting together, sometimes it's even better to do it like a weeknight after the kids are going down or whatever.
No doubt.
Collecting dues, the best practice is just hammer the shit out of there, annoy them until they pay you.
And you can have the rule, you don't draft without cash.
Oh, yeah.
We do that in our league.
Yeah.
And,
if it came down to it, we'd probably be like, because you can't have an auto drafter in the auction.
I mean, but if it's me or you, it's one thing. But if it's Mike Taylor, I mean, you may never see that money.
You ain't getting that. Transactions and keepers. Best practices for trade deadlines. We were arguing this before it started. In a non-keeper league, it needs to be like 3 weeks before playoffs.
That's right.
That's like the third Wednesday in November, I think. Mm-hmm. In a keeper league, let's talk about fire sales.
Okay, so first off, there's stuff that happens that somebody takes all their keeper value for next year, tries to trade it to someone,
sell the house
for value this year in order to win.
Right.
And I think that's a healthy, good practice for keeper leagues. But to your point, you're right.
Well, I don't know, man. I think I'm right, obviously, because I always think I'm right. But, I mean, that's just how I breathe. But I think that, seriously, with the fire sale thing, it's like until you are on the receiving end of that, you don't really know how it feels. Until you're sitting there with the best team that you've ever had in fantasy football, where you're just like, I am shit on everybody all the way till the end. And you look at all the other teams and you're just like, oh my, I don't even have to look at my roster until Sunday morning. This is just incredible. And then you see Saturday night, before the first game in playoffs, that one of these trash teams just gets like Le'Veon Bell for a bunch of garbage, or Ezekiel Elliott, and they're just like, hey, I've been playing with Robert Turpin in my RB2 all year, and he hasn't even got on the field but like 3 times. And now I've got Ezekiel Elliott with all my stack of receivers that got me to the playoffs, and then they're just unstoppable, and you're just like, man, it's just tough for me because
you got to trust in that situation. If you're not going to have a trade deadline, you got to trust your counsel to act in the best interest of the league. And I know.
But it comes back to the value thing. It's like, dude, I can value. It's just like this year. I traded Dante Moncrief for, I can't remember who, but I was out of the race, and I was thinking about Moncrief for the next year. Well, I traded somebody pretty hot for him.
To Satan.
I did, and it made that team really good.
I know, it was John Howard.
And everybody's like talking crap, and I'm like, well, I value Dante Moncrief. I could keep him for $17. And
so I think the happy medium is that in a keeper league, that trade deadline needs to happen before the first week of the playoffs. Like, let's do it before the first game of the playoff week. Because, like you and I, we made a good trade, okay? I got Lamar Miller.
Still, that's so close.
It's close.
Know whether you're in or
Retool.
out. If you're in last place and it doesn't make a shit and you don't have anything to play for, you sell your... What is telling you not to sell your whole team? Why in the hell would you not get keeper value for the next year?
Well,
I would trade every single one of my A players. If I was in 11th place or 12th place, I'd be like, who cares? Screw you guys. Have fun. No. But that's the thing, dude. It's like, that's why I think my soft deadline is a genius thing, because you can still trade in the playoffs. You can still do it, but you just can't keep anybody that you trade. That's the stipulation. So it's like a soft deadline. So you keep trading. There's a deadline, but it's only soft. So it's after that point, anybody you trade cannot be kept. So you're looking at that trade as value for this year compared to value for this year. So this player can't be could be a unicorn next year.
I'm with that. But at the same time, I mean, I went into the playoffs with a stacked team. And week 1 against the playoffs, I dropped Eric Mosley, who got, Adrian Peterson for $4. And it was like, really? And his team was stacked. And I had Gronkowski go down. And I had, who's that Baltimore Ravens short yardage running back that used to always score touchdowns? Willis McGahee. So I had those two guys go down right before the playoffs, and they were major players, and I couldn't do shit about it. I just had to eat it. And that's part of football, but I would have liked to have traded some value for some players last minute. Obviously, I kicked everybody's ass going into the playoffs. Then I get 2 injuries, and now I'm not going to be competitive. I mean, I got beat by 60.
Yeah, dude, and that's what happened to me 2 years ago, and I traded Mark Ingram to FUBU because it was after everybody started the fire sales, because it was just like
you had to make a move.
You had to do it, or you're not going to make it. And I had Mark Ingram, and somebody else that went down like a stud running back. Both of my stud running backs went down, and I was just like, that was the best fantasy football team I'd ever drafted, too. And I wish I could remember who the other person was, because my team was just like unstoppable.
So the question is do you want the opportunity to retool, or don't you? Do you want to go through the season?
It depends, man. It's tough. That's a tough one. We could talk about
it all night. Yeah.
Gosh, but let's. What about keepers and with auctions? How do you set that? The best practice for that, like if you're keepers in a regular snake draft league, you just do round value.
Yeah.
So whatever you drafted them in, then you use that pick. But in an auction league, it's dollars, so it doesn't matter where you drafted them. It's how much you paid.
Yes. So in the auctions, what you should do is, first off, you got to decide who's going to be available to be kept. Okay, so do they have to be drafted? Can you get them off the waiver wire? And then, okay, so once you decide that, it's like, okay, so if you pull a guy off the waiver wire, what value do you assign for him next year to be a keeper? So what we do is we have a minimum value. So the minimum value for a keeper is $15. Okay, so if you got squirrel lucky 2 years ago, John Howard, and you got, I don't know, David Johnson, then you get to keep him for $15. And that keeps it from being one.
And then each year after that, we add to that, and then
$7 a year.
Yeah.
So he's 22 the next year and 29 the next year, which is still incredible value for David Johnson. But, you set some parameters there so that the league, if you pick a guy off the waiver wire like we did way back in the day and you get Jamal Charles, and he turned into Jamal Charles, and you're going to keep him for $1, you're going to dominate the league.
Yeah.
In a $200 budget, if you're getting a top 3 back at $1, you're going to win.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to add some value to it, and then each year that you keep them, you need to increase the value a little bit.
Right.
And then have a limit on how many years you can keep them.
Right.
You can't keep them forever. It's not a dynasty league. It's a keeper league. There's a difference. And if it's a keeper league, 1 to 2 years for the keeper. After you draft them, you can keep them 1 time, or you can keep them 2 times after you draft them.
So you could potentially have that player 3
years. And then they go back to the pool, and then everybody's happy because I want a shot at David Johnson. Just because John has a squirrel tail and got lucky, I want a shot at David Johnson in the future, Yeah,
that's a great way to do it. With waivers, the reverse standings deal, it just doesn't work.
It's good for like powder puff, like pat you on the butt, like here's your trophy at the end of the day leagues.
Your last place trip.
Yeah, no, like everybody that participates, you know what? You pay your entry fee and you get it back at the end of the year. You know why? Because I appreciate your play.
Yeah.
No, it's about making money and being a winner. And you know when you go in there and you allow them to get a pick because they were the worst team in the league just so you can keep it even, that's dumb.
You should not reward
Crap.
shit.
No.
Idiocracy.
I mean, if you're last, you should get out there and have to run laps.
That's true.
I mean,
shoot free throws after the game. I mean, that's what you should have to do. So you need to do free agent auction bidding.
That's right.
It's the fairest way to do it. Everybody gets the same budget, or you can do it with like real cash and then have like maxes. And I mean, that gets kind of complicated, but
Lee does that, doesn't he?
yeah, it's pretty fun. I had no idea how to. The first week of that, I was like, what does everybody spend on the? What did they do on the waivers? And I'm like $35 for somebody, and then all the rest of the bids are like $7. You know, and I'm just like, shit,
dang it!
Well, I got that player.
and we don't need to talk about cash anymore. My wife's watching, but the point is that the FAB budget's the best way to go because the best free agent of the week, you manage your budget just like you would in an auction draft, and you get to say, hey, I've got $1,000 for the whole season. You know, I really want whoever, and you make a bid on them, and everybody's got the same chance at that waiver. Everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
And that's as fair as it gets.
Here's some strategy for you on that. So let's say, how do you spend your FAB? Well, let's say you have 1,000. That's your it's play money.
That's pretty standard.
Yeah, it's play money. But that's your budget. And let's say week 3, David Johnson goes down with ACL, and his backup, which I think is Andre Elton right now, but no.
They signed CJ2K.
How did they re-sign him? There's another guy too, a young guy there. It should be on your radar right now. You don't want to draft him because nobody's going to be playing unless he actually gets hurt. Which, anyway, but so let's say that happens and you haven't spent a dime. What you need to do is treat your FAB budget as percentages.
That's right.
And if there is a player that you're going to plug into your, let's say you drafted some running back and they're C.J. Anderson, and they're not panning out, and you need somebody to fill that void, and this guy you can plug in, and you know that he's going to be there the rest of the season. I mean, barring any injury, he's going to be there the rest of the season helping your team, and everybody in the league is going to be after him. I would go by percentage. I would do 80 to 90% of my FAB budget on that person. Because what are you going to wait around and see if the next one of those happens? It doesn't happen. It's very rare. Whenever it does, yeah, there's injuries to running backs, but it's rare. So if there's a guy that's sitting there looking at you in the eye, you can't just be like, oh, well, I'm going to save some money for this defense I'm going to pick up for $1 down the road. And, dude, you can live the entire season with 10 or $100 left out of 1,000 because in most leagues it opens up the free agency right after waivers go through,
right? So
you can add people freely, and you just, if you're smart and you know players that other people don't, which a lot of times we do, you just wait and nobody bid on that player, and you just get them for nothing.
Yeah, you got to be.
Or you can get them for like $1. I mean.
But yeah, so you know, if they're going to plug into your lineup, I mean, you're spending a high percentage on them, and then if you're just taking a flyer, you know, you don't put a high percentage on a flyer, you know, but you
if you want to get early, you say what, like 20-30%?
Yeah, it depends on what position, but yeah. I mean, I'm never spending 20 or 30% on a defense.
No, on a defense.
That's a bye week fill in. I'm waiting until it's free.
Yeah, if you're trying to pick up a quarterback on a bye week, because you shouldn't draft a backup quarterback, by the way. I don't know how many of you do that, but if you have Drew Brees, you're starting Drew Brees, so why waste a roster spot on a backup?
And the week that Drew Brees is on bye,
you just figure it out.
Pick up
Josh McCown, who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, who gives a damn? So what? You're going to get 12 points that week? What were you doing with this person in that spot on your bench the whole season? How many points is that guy giving you every single week?
You could be like Kresge.
Not a single thing.
Roster 4 quarterback.
Oh yeah, we had a guy in our league is supposed to be like experts. Like nobody can get in that league and just
dominate. Nobody's going to come in and dominate.
No. This guy has 5 quarterbacks on his roster all year, and I'm making posts about it. I'm just like, okay. Because I'm going to come up on my bye week where I need a quarterback, and there's not even anybody available. You're like getting an egg because you're just like, I'm just going to plug in Ryan Mallett. He's not even starting this, Brian Hoyer. I mean, you're just like, what are you going to do?
And I know what he was doing because he had Zeke and Le'Veon Bell, which was pretty stellar, but he had nothing else. So he's hoping to like trade a quarterback for like a wide receiver that was startable.
Right, but everybody else had quarterback.
But everybody looked at his team and said, I'm not giving him anything. I mean, he'll be unstoppable.
Yeah. But anyway, that was a tangent. Don't draft a backup quarterback. I swear to God, people that do that don't know what they're doing. Okay, so here, the only time you can draft a backup quarterback if your number 1 quarterback is like Jared Goff
or Tyrod
Taylor or somebody that's like, man, I don't know if I want to start them every week. I don't know if I want to start them against Seattle or Denver or whatever.
And that's an okay deal because you didn't spend a high draft pick on them.
Right.
And then
if you got 2 quarterbacks for like in the 12th and 13th round.
Exactly. Yeah. So if I get Tyrod, I'm going to back him up with like a Tannehill or somebody, Alex Smith maybe, and throw them in there on the bye week or when they have good matchups and play matchup game.
But if you're drafting the 8th, well, let's say the 10th best quarterback or higher, then you don't need a damn backup.
That's right.
Anyway, let's get into what we've been dying to get into. Auction drafts. Why we love them. Why you should do them. Why you should take your commissioner aside and go, look, do this. First, you should be like, wait, do you have kickers? Do we have kickers still? We still have kickers? I'm going to go join this other league.
Let's fix
it. Anyway, but you need to push auction drafts because they're so much fun. They take skill, which is something that I like. I mean, I like playing against people who have skill. I mean, every single time. I mean, I'm not. If I get into a league where it's just like cakewalk, it just depends on how much money is involved. Because if I think that, honestly, it's like, the big money league we're in, I feel like I can a lot of times run on division in that.
Yeah.
Usually.
$6.
But, there's some great players in there, but when there's 48 teams, half of them aren't very good.
No, there's going to be some injuries are going to happen,
But get them to do auction drafts. Ask your commissioner, tell them all about it, play them this video. Be like, hey, listen to these guys. I think they're on to something.
Think about this. So you go into your draft, and it's a snake draft. You're in the 8-hole.
I'm in the 8-hole this year in the Kid Jones League.
Is that fun?
No, there's nothing
fun about that. No, it's not fun. Because you're going to get a lesser player than the top 7 above you.
And then you're going to wait another 12 in between that to get your next player.
And, the best you can hope for is AJ Green. And that's not bad, but
that's going to carry your team.
Have no chance at Le'Veon Bell. You have no chance at Le'Veon Bell. And if you play in an auction,
your shit is going to be based on your draft order. Whether you're going to have
there's going to be a range. There's going to be a range of like plus or minus 10 ADP where you're picking for your player every single time.
And a lot of times it's random. Draft order is made random. Like there's been a lot of clever stuff with picking draft orders, which is great and fun. And I think it's really cool. Though. There's a lot of cool stuff. But at the same time, it's random. It is random. Or you're rewarding last place by going reverse order of finishing. And we get back to the trophy deal. The participation. Your kid's a loser.
If you finish last, you don't get to pick first.
No.
You get to pick last. You should have to pick last.
Dude, one thing that we do that's really great in the Kid Jones League is we have the winner of the consolation bracket gets the first pick.
Well, Well, it keeps everybody interested.
It does. It keeps everybody playing the whole year, and I love that. But also, I don't want the first pick ever. I don't. I mean,
I don't
it's
like
snake,
first pick.
I know, because you're picking. It's the horrible part of snake drafts is you're picking. You've got potentially the best player, consensus.
You take
Whoever you
Bell.
consider is the best player. You take them, and then you don't get the next 24 freaking players you don't have on your team. So you've got this one player, and then you've got the 25th overall ranked player, which is like Allen Robinson.
Yeah, so you're taking Le'Veon and Allen Robinson, and you didn't have a chance at anybody else. That's why auction drafts are great, because you can get, if you decide you want Le'Veon Bell, he's on your team.
Yeah, if you're just sold, I mean, it's like Fubu, man. He wanted Adrian Peterson every single year.
How much for Adrian?
Or Antonio Brown. I mean, he'd pay $75 out of this $200, but he would have. You could sit there and bid him all you wanted to. Eventually, you're going to back off because you're just like, I can't do it.
It's Fubu.
And people that go into the draft set on who they're going to get, they're going to get them.
Oh,
there's nothing you can do about it.
And but I like the fact that in an auction draft, I can identify players, like let's just pick somebody, Isaiah Crowell. And if I want him on my team, he's going to be on my team.
Right.
And, I got to be willing to pay for him, but I can get anybody I want. And then if I decided to spend $50 on, I don't know, Melvin Gordon, and I still want to get A.J. Green, guess what? I can get both of them.
You can, and then you just build the rest of your team. I mean, you're building it on
Two
bologna
studs.
sandwiches every day. You're bologna sandwiching it because you're just trying to figure it out. But I mean, if you're skillful enough, you can do it.
You can do it
easily.
You can do it.
And I mean, Joseph Milburn did it nearly every year in this,
Studs and duds.
one league that I play in. Studs and duds, man. He bought 3 players for 75% of his budget, and then he just dollar player. It's just like he was just like watching everybody bid after that because he had it. And you looked at his team, and you're just like, God, that is ridiculous. And you can do that.
Yeah.
And that's everybody else's fault. People get scared off with big numbers in auctions.
I do that. I get scared off with big numbers.
I think that it's the most fair way that you can draft, hands down. So the basics for it is you have an order, but it's a random order, but it doesn't matter. It's just a nominee order, and everybody nominates in an order. But as soon as you nominate a player, everybody bids on them until somebody buys them, and then you go to the next, and you go to the next.
There's an art to that.
Then you're allotted like $200 budget is pretty standard. You can nominate anybody you want whenever it's your turn.
There's some keys to the nomination. I know that you can nominate whoever you want, but there's an art to it.
There is an art.
We're
going to get into that little strategy.
I got that worked out.
I do too. And it sucks because we both have that worked out and we know what each other does. But it's all right because the other 10 players in the league don't.
No, that's right. Unless they're watching.
For strategies, for me, it is all about trial and practice. If you haven't done it before, you want to practice. The best way to practice is to get in like a free league, not mocks, but a free league on ESPN, because a lot of times people will actually stick in it until the end, depending on which one you get into. Because a lot with the auction drafts, and this is why everybody has to be at the draft. You cannot have an auction draft where somebody's auto drafting, because it's an auto bid, and the computer's just gonna bid on every player, and it's gonna increase all of the values on every single player. It's gonna shit all over the entire draft. One person is not there, it shits on the whole thing. So
that's right.
You have to have everybody there. If you don't have everybody there, you need to set up somebody to draft for the person that's not there. But for me, like I said, it's all about practicing, doing some of those free drafts, test out different budget strategies, like going more budget dollars for running back, like do a practice where you just do nothing but you're going to spend $80 on running back. So you're spending that much, and then you just see how your team turns out after that. And then you do like one where you've got like $10 for this player, and you've got your bench players. It looks a lot like this. I've got an example here. this is kind of like what you would do. You would set up a little practice sheet, and you can adjust this however you have 15 of these. The first year that we did this, I had at minimum 10 different ways that it could come out.
I have a spreadsheet.
Oh yeah,
in my computer right now where I do it every year.
Yeah, it's just like you gotta, and you can put specific. You can be like, okay, that's my AJ Green dollars, and you can put AJ Green right there. And that's the beauty of the auction is you can get if you want AJ Green, you can be like, I'm willing to spend this much, and I doubt anybody else will go that high. And and then you work out what you're gonna have left to budget after that.
Man, and you brought up identifying, within that budget, identifying players. I totally do that. Like a few years ago, I decided that I wanted, or really last year, I was like, I want Blake Bortles as my quarterback, and I budgeted $5 for Blake Bortles, and I put his name in it.
Yeah.
And then I looked for a couple other quarterbacks that were $5, rough, and I said, okay, so I'm willing to take Blake Bortles. I'm willing to take this quarterback and that quarterback. So I had some options over there. So if I'm in the middle of the auction draft and I go, man, I budgeted $5 for Blake Bortles, it doesn't ruin my world. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll take Eli Manning for $5. Okay, cool. And work that. So as you're doing your budget, it's okay to identify players that you want. In fact, I would do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, there's times when you're going to have to adjust on the fly too, because some things can happen. 3 years ago, this is the best example that I've ever had. It was when I think was it the first year that Jimmy Graham? No, he was still at. It was like 5 years ago. He was still in New Orleans, and he was up there and about. It was like Rob Gronkowski and Jimmy Graham. You know what I mean? And Rob Gronkowski was going in the first round, and Jimmy was going in the second. Mm-hmm. Well, there's a thing called price enforcing. And what it is you don't want people to walk away with a steal. So you've got to price it, and you've got to have 5 or 6 people in the league that are willing to price enforce, to make it good for the integrity of the entire draft.
Because you can't let Odell Beckham go for $22.
No, you can't let that happen. If everybody's sleeping on that, not paying attention, that team won. They won.
Yeah, they won. So you gotta be willing to bid, $45 on, Odell Beckham to get it out of the dirt a little bit, so that they have to pay what we'd say close to market value.
Right. Around market value. I mean, $5 less. You got to get it out the dirt. That's what you got to do. Get it out the dirt. And so what happened? What had happened was Jimmy Graham was sitting at $25, and his value was well over $40 that year. And so, nobody was doing it, and I was just like, okay, I've got to hit the bid, and then it would go tick, 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 like about the 3, 2, 1 it. Going once, going twice, and I would hit a bid, and I'd be like, come on, what is everybody doing? Somebody needs a price enforce. And so I kept doing that until he got to like 40, and I was like, okay, we're good with that. And then the MF for that, I was good because stuck me with it.
Well, that's the other thing about price enforcing is that
you got to be willing.
You got to be willing to take the player. When you make a bid in an auction draft, whatever bid you make, you got to be willing to take the player.
Yep.
That's that. At the end of the day,
So I had 30 different strategies. I had none for paying $40 for a tight end. I was like, what am I going to do? And I had to squirrel a team together. I ended up
making the playoffs.
Yeah. I've only missed playoffs one time in that league, and it was last year, and it was heartbreaking.
No, I haven't made the playoffs too many times in that year, which is an anomaly for me. I normally am a pretty good player, but I've just been
injury. It's just something about that league.
Just the injury bug. But I'll tell you this, and it kind of goes into auction drafts a little bit. I think I go into the auction draft timid. You can't go into the auction draft timid. You got to go in with a plan.
It's because of who you're playing against.
It is.
Because you can go into the other draft in the fantasy J.A.R.V.I.S league and be like, cake,
Dude,
it's not cake at all. It's not cake at all, but
it's not.
You have confidence in yourself.
I feel like I'm the best player. No offense to you.
I understand.
I feel like when I go to the J.A.R.V.I.S league, I'm like, I'm the best summit in here.
Right. And I mean, it's just you can't do that in our league because you're just like everybody's good.
Everybody's good, and you're like trying to make it look good.
Yeah, because if you want to come in respectfully, you definitely don't want the other people being like, "Did you see it?"
Because not only that, but after the draft, I'm making a post about everybody's draft, and I'm ranking your draft, and I'm gonna make fun of everything you did.
Yeah,
everything.
You don't want to come in on the recap as the grade C.
No, you don't want to come in as a grade C.
Oh god!
And
and that's what happens though. It's like we were talking about this the other day at lunch. It's like, man, this year, because both of us do that.
I do
both of us do it.
I'm like, whoa.
We're like, wait, should I? Wait. That's higher than value.
There's no running backs left?
That's higher than value. I'm backing off. And then you get 25 players into it, and you've been backing off because it's like everybody's going for too high. And then you're like, well, damn, I should have spent this money on whoever, and then you just end up screwing your whole draft.
Your number one wide receiver is Lucky Whitehead.
Oh,
it's not. It ain't going good. It ain't going good.
But yeah, you got to watch it, man. I mean, you can't just be a bitch.
No, if you want a player, bid on the player, and if it's $3 over the ESPN market value, who gives a shit?
If it's over the Nolan and Chad value, then who gives a shit? I mean, honestly, at this point, that's just like I said the other day. I'm going into it this year where I'm going to be balls to the wall. You guys are going to be like, look at this dumbass. What did he just spend on that guy? And I'm going to be like, I'll have most of my team in the first 3-4 picks.
If you nominate my team, I'm gonna draft it.
Yeah, and that's just gonna be like, he has 16 players. We've been doing this for how long? 10 minutes? What happened?
It's fine. It's fine. I'll take a nap and I'll sit and watch y'all draft.
Yeah,
it's great.
Oh man, so yeah, it's so fun to talk about auction drafts. It's so much fun. One of the things that I really like to do when it's my turn to nominate. And I hate to spill the beans like this because there's a lot of people that are watching this that play against me, and I'm gonna kind of keep it where it's like, honestly, I'm gonna do both spectrums, so you're not really gonna know how to do it. So a lot of times I like to nominate the guy that I really love.
That's how he does it.
And I throw him out there, and I'm just like, I mean, might as well get him out here early because I know I'm gonna spend that much on him. I'm just gonna get him out there. And go ahead, let's get the bidding, let's see what everybody else is going to do, and throw them out there and get them. And then there's times when I'm like, man, I don't like that player.
I'm going to get some money out the board. I'm going to get some money out the board. Everybody's got $200. I'm
going to be like, Aaron Rodgers has been going for $55 in leagues. I'm nominating him, and you'll watch. And what I'll do, I love that little button that they have on the pass, but the yellow button where you hit pass, and you cannot bid anymore after that.
Done.
If you hit pass, it won't even let you bid.
Dude.
And I like to throw that player out, and I like to hit pass, and I like to just watch and see how much, because the goal is to get your money out of your budget before I even look at my players, and that's really how I do it. So the first part, I don't ever just sometimes I do. I mean, I gotta keep you thinking. I mean, do you think? I mean, sometimes I do. I'll throw that player out there that I like, and I'll bid on him. I like to throw my sleeper out, like right.
No, never throw a sleeper out early.
I mean, like first round of nominations.
Because by the time our drafts happen, because they're so late, everybody kind of knows the sleepers. And let's say it's Marlon Mack this year, and you throw out Marlon Mack first.
Everybody's got $200.
You're going to pay for Marlon Mack.
You're going to pay full retail
for Marlon Mack. And what I want is $1 Marlon Mack.
Right.
And
I want it when everybody else has $3.
Exactly.
And the maximum is $5. And listen to this too. The goal is not to see how much money you can have at the end of the draft.
No.
That is not it.
Spend all you can.
That's not it. If you are looking around at the end of the draft, and you have 12 spots on your roster, and everybody else has 4, and you have $160 in your little bank account there, you're doing it wrong.
What I like to do is I never like to get into a situation where I can only bid $1 per player. So, like, say I go down and I have 4 roster spots left, I got to go $1 for each of those players. What I try to do is keep it at $2 or $3, so that
if there's that one that gets thrown out, you can't just get
you can't get boned. I can go ahead and up that $1 and get him. Yeah. So I never like to get myself in a pigeonhole position where I've only got $1 per player. But at the same time, I don't want to get into where the last 4 guys on my roster, I can spend $8 a piece on them.
Right. Because it does you no good to, like, your last pick, throw out $12 because you have it left and you're spending on a defense.
That's right. It's just dumb.
It's crazy.
It's managing a budget
as
you go.
And a lot of people aren't very good at that because, let's just face it, it's the new age with credit cards and nobody has cash, and that's why people are shitty at managing money.
Sure.
You don't balance a checking book. You just swipe it and go. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, it's all about managing your budget right there, and that's why accountants are really good at auction drafts. By the way, Lee this is his first year to play in one. I think
is he in the early?
He's in the 14-team one.
So happy.
Yeah, I think he's going to really dominate because he's really good with finances. So it's all about that. It's like taking value at what you value a player and making it work. And you need a value for every player. If you think that so-and-so that's valued at $30 isn't worth the piss in a cup, then value him at below zero and be like, go on.
You got to value your players. You got to.
Yeah. Something that the Fantasy HP over here likes to do every time when it's his turn to nominate, for 15 rounds in a row if it takes that, is nominate a defense because he wants to see you spend $4, $5 on a defense in the first round or something.
This is taking money off the board.
It's getting money out.
So we've been in some funny leagues where defenses scored ridiculous. Where I actually paid up for defense.
I've seen you spend $8.
I paid $8 for defense,
which isn't terrible.
But that league defenses were scoring 40 points a game, and I was like, okay, I want a piece of that 40. But like in a typical league, I mean, I'm not trying to spend over $2 for it.
No, because you could honestly you get 2 defenses at the end, the crapshoot, and I'm streaming defense. I am streaming defenses any damn way, dude. I mean, like I'm the king. Unless there's some defense that I love, then I might bid on them. But otherwise, I'm like this year, my defense is going to be the defense that plays against the New York Jets every week. I don't give a damn who it is. Or if they're available on waivers, that's who I am starting. And then I'll throw their ass right back on waivers for you to have next week. It'll be like, God, did you see the Colts? They went off last week on New York Jets. And then Kid, he just dropped them. He just dropped them and picked them up. And then they're going to get housed the next week. And I'll be like, good.
But that's the reason I do it, okay? So you can pick up defenses throughout the year to string them against really lousy teams. You can do that all year long. So don't spend $8 on a defense. But I'm going to throw out a defense out there. I'm going to throw the Denver Broncos out there. You know why? Because I'm okay with the Minnesota Vikings at $1. I'm going to throw out the Broncos. I'm going to let you spend $8.
Yeah.
And then now $8 are out of your
And you're okay with getting whichever defense you nominate.
That's
so
right.
You're just like,
because I'm going to stream them anyway. I don't care.
Who cares?
So that's what I do.
I love it, man. Every year, Nolan. I mean, you're like, who's Nolan going to nominate? And you're like, I bet it's a defense. Yeah. And then it's just like, I mean, he can be the first nomination and it'll be like defense, and then it'll be his turn again, defense, because it doesn't really matter. Everybody's bidding on every player, so it doesn't matter who you're throwing out there, really. I mean, it really doesn't.
But I want to keep you off balance. For one, like I don't want ever to get in a situation where I nominate a player that I want. Right. Because then you can price enforce me.
Right. You can Brandon Downs me.
Brandon Downs. Because I talked to Brandon Downs.
I can't. I love it. I love
his
it though.
Face.
I love it though because he paid attention to what we were saying all the time, and that makes you feel good when you try to help somebody dominate at fantasy football, and you see them like dominating, like doing well, and it's because you kind of gave them a few. I mean, Brandon's a good player.
He is, but last year
But then
I told him about
some of the secret players that we talk about, not with everyone, when it gets leaked, like Russia. I mean, leaks.
I
it's just
leaked
like,
a couple of
I
players.
mean, when you leak things, it's just when you
Like,
tell everybody that DeMarco Murray is going to be a top 3 running back,
and then you go to bid on
DeMarco
DeMarco Murray.
Murray's going at like $17 in regular drafts, and then he gets up to 40, and you're like, "How did this happen?"
Downs, stop! He did that to me to Demaryius Thomas last year. I was like, "Hey man, I understand he's got a bad quarterback. I understand Peyton's not there, but the guy's going to catch 90 passes.
He does it every year.
He's going to catch 90 passes, and
he
bid me up on him."
Demaryius Thomas might as well be Demaryius Bubble Screen Thomas.
He's catching 90 balls.
He coined the bubble screen.
It doesn't matter.
Do you realize how unpopular the bubble screen was until Demaryius Thomas?
Dude, it's because Peyton Manning couldn't throw it over 10 yards.
I know.
I mean, he throw that bubble, and then Demaryius breaks some tackles, and he gets 10 yards.
But seriously, did you watch how popular that got after he started doing that? They're like, every team bubble screens now. It's like one of the top 10 plays in people's playbook.
There's no doubt.
And they get picked and taken to the house all the time.
All the time now. But people are jumping.
Everybody knows it's coming.
So you got to just do this. You got to do this deal. You got to do pump fake and then let Demaryius go on the scene.
Yeah.
And then they'll ease off.
No, I'd love to see Trevor Siemian do that a little bit. Paxton Lynch?
I think by week 4 it's Paxton.
Who cares?
Don't draft Trevor Siemian.
They both suck, dude. I wouldn't touch the Denver quarterback game. It's just like the.
I want Demaryius though.
Yeah,
I want him.
I do. Yeah, he's gonna pan out. Let's see. We talked about sleepers early. Talked about saving is not winning. We talked about price enforcing. Here's one of the things that. And it's kind of one of the last things we can touch on. Sure. I mean, unless you got anything else, I don't know. But
I got one other.
Okay. Well, so here's a valuable lesson that I learned in my first years of doing auction drafts. Really, my first 2 years, and I paid the piper for this. Mm-hmm. I'm like more, so if you look at it like video game players, you have the computer guys. They use the hotkeys. Yeah. And they're really good at that. They're hotkey players. They know where all those buttons are. And then you have the people like me that I use the mouse. I like to click, move it around and click. And it's like I'm scared of the keyboard. I mean, I can use keyboard really good. I mean, I'm like, oh, okay. 90 word per minute guy, but I just would rather.
Good work.
No. I mean, I'm a writer.
I'm more of a hunting tech guy.
Yeah. But, so, digressing. I like to click the bid button. And I learned a valuable lesson about clicking the bid button.
Who taught you that lesson?
Owen Howard did. And what happened was, and what will happen to a lot of you if you don't take this advice.
If you're playing against me, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. If you sit there and click the bid button and it starts out, so the bidding starts at $1 and it goes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you're clicking 9, 10. You're having a good time. Look at I'm going to go all the way up to 50. It's cool. We're only at 25. I'm going to go to 50. This is a good player. And then all of a sudden, hotkeys types in 53 and you just click 54 and then he goes, I'm out. And you're going. You are sitting there with a $54 player that you only intended to spend maybe 50 or, whatever. But if you click that thing, you're going to get in trouble.
You're going to get in trouble.
You need to enter the numbers
that you want to bid on the player. So what happens is Chad bids on or puts a guy out there, and let's say he puts him out there for $1. Let's say it's AJ Green. And I'm willing to spend 46 on AJ Green.
Why are you going to sit there and go the $1 at a time and just take everybody's time up and just be like, dude, we all know that this guy is going to go for $50. Get it out of the dirt, and you key it in. And
so if you're going to be me, here's the deal. do not, by any means, put in your max bid for the player because you're going to catch Chad on the re-click, and then he's going to outbid you.
Yeah,
so
and then you're going to be like, well, that's too rich. It just depends on who it is. If you're planning, if Nolan knows that he's playing in a league with me that likes to play, then he's going to plan it, and he's going to be like, I think Chad really likes this player. I know he's going to be clicking. I'm going to throw this number out. And then you just throw it out there, and then you just hit the pass button. You're just like, I'm out.
Dude, that's what I do. But I never. So if it's a guy that I want, I go $3 under the amount that I'm willing to pay. I go $3 under, and then I make you click.
And then you see. Then sometimes you'll catch 3 or 4
it's
people. They'll go boom, 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 and it'll get to 60, and you'll be like, oh
damn! And I just took money off the board because that's your goal.
It's strategy.
Taking money off the board.
It's a great strategy, man. And I hate you for it, but it's a great lesson. It's such a good lesson because I literally learned not to do that.
You can't do that.
I don't even bring my mouse.
A lot of times when I throw a player out, because people are like, oh, it's Demaryius Thomas. Or Demaryius Thomas is a bad idea. But let's say it's Des Bryant this year. There's people high on Des Bryant. I'm going to throw Des Bryant out there at, let's say its market value is at 40.
Yeah.
I'll throw him out there at 38.
Yeah.
38.
Right out of the gate. Instead of doing $1.
Click.
Yeah.
And somebody just spent 40 on Des Bryant.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
It's good too. It's good. Yeah, that's a great way to not have to price him for it. That's a great way to do that.
And
I'm gonna start doing that a little better.
I only bid the amount that I was willing to pay for Des Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
So
I like that. And that's good. That's good.
I do that.
I know you do. I mean, I've seen it. I just haven't done it as much. I need to get into the mind screw side of auction drafting.
It's shady a little bit.
It is. It's fantastic when you see it happen and you weren't one of the clickers. No. When you see it and you're like, oh shit. It gets right out of the dirt and you're just like, oh man, this dude, that's $47 out, and I mean, ain't nobody else bidding either, and they're all like on the boards. We're either all in the same room just making hella fun of each other, or on the boards typing, oh my god.
So I feel like that my role in the auction draft is strategy. I feel like that's it, and it kind of goes in. I know it's not something that we wrote down and talked about, but here's one of the things, and it keeps me from ever hitting +1. I never, ever, and I hate to say never, but for the most part, I never hit a +1. I always try to outbid you by 2. Because if you're going to outbid me, you just spent $3 more instead of $1 more.
Yeah.
And so I try to go up in 2 increments, unless it gets to the very end and it's like, okay, guys, it's C.J. Anderson. Okay, I'm going to put $1 more on it. But when it's a guy I like to bid, I don't like to go +1 on the bid. I like to go +2 or +3. So if you have to get him, you're going to have to bid $3 or $4 more, and you're worried about it. So I feel like I get more players that way.
Especially when you got people that haven't got their running backs yet or anything like that, and you're like, that they need them, and they've got way too much money in their deal, and you're just like, you're going to make them pay.
I do that, and then the other thing I do is as I'm going down, and it's just what you said. Let's say that Chad goes wide receiver, and he spends money on it. Let's say he gets ODB, and he comes down and gets like a Keenan Allen. And, he spends 55 on ODB, and which probably will go more than that, and then spends 25 on the other. So, he's got $80 tied up in it. So I know he's cash poor, and I know he needs a running back. I'm watching to see what he needs during the draft so that not only can I throw people out to get more money off his board, but I can basically screw him over a little bit because I know he needs a running back, and if I've got a lot of cash, I can maybe get a steal in the draft because Chad already has 2 wide receivers and he needs a running back. He doesn't have a lot of money, so he's going to have to be frugal. So I'm watching what everybody's got, if somebody needs a quarterback at the end of the draft, John Howard, and he's got $10 left, I mean, I'm gonna bid him up on every quarterback and make him spend his money.
That's another beauty compared to a snake draft is with the snake draft, you can make if you're first pick overall, you make your pick, and you can go mow the effing lawn and come back. And it doesn't matter anything. You're like, is it my pick yet?
Everybody's engaged.
No, there's 5 more picks. Okay, I'm gonna go get a beer. No, you're watching what everybody's doing in an auction draft.
Right.
You're paying attention to every move, every dollar spent, and that's the beauty of it compared to a snake. I mean, hands down, you've got to at least get your feet wet on the auction. I guarantee you, once you go, you won't ever go back.
No, auction's the only way to go, and it's the most fair way. It's the same way that Fab Budget is for free agents. It's the most fair way to do it. Everybody's got a shot. I wouldn't recommend just diving in without trying it. Like Chad said earlier, practice, repetition.
Yeah, don't just show up and be like, ooh, how does this work? What are the buttons?
No, you got to figure it out, do some bids, and do them in a real league.
Like the first year we did it, both of us showed up with notebooks with dividers.
Yeah, well, I had a freaking binder.
I had at least.
I had a 5-star first year binder.
At least 5 dividers in there, at least 15 dividers in there with different. Each one of them was a different strategy. Not one of them $45 for a tight end. No,
not one. But I came in there with strategies, and so when you start anything new, try to prepare as best you can. If you have any questions, you can always ask us. We've been through a number of auctions. We'd be happy to help you. If you've got a question, hey, how much should I leave for my bench players?
Yeah.
Well, how many bench players you got in your league? So we'll talk about some stuff like that. We're happy to.
$35 is a good standard number for your bench.
That's what I try to do too. And then
25, 35.
Yeah, 25 to 35 in there.
I mean, it just depends on how balls to the wall that you go. Because you could leave $60 on there if you've got you've got one A player, and then you've kind of done pretty good about getting pretty good B players. Then you got a lot to work with on your wide receiver 3 and 4 and all that, and your $2 tight end.
And that's what I was fixing to say is, when you're building a team, like going into a draft, I know in the room who likes running backs. I know who likes wide receivers. I know who likes quarterbacks. And so if I see a player with too much money, I'm going to throw a player like Chad. Let's say that he likes tight ends, which I know you don't. But if he likes tight ends, I'm going to try to throw that tight end to get his money off the board because I know he's going to go after that guy. So I'm strategizing like that. And then, you know how you build your team. And then, there's really only 2 methods to build a team. It's studs and duds. You take, and do the FUBU method and you spend, or the Milburn method and you spend $75 or $80 on 3 players or whatever. Or you go.
Shoot, like 160 on.
Well,
for some of them, and it's worked out. He won that one year.
He did, but there's studs and duds, or there's an even team where it's kind of like, hey,
everybody scores. You set your quarterback at. You do a percentage just like you do. I've done that plenty of times.
I've drafted like that, and and I think the 2 things, kind of at the end here, if you're going studs and duds, I think that you need to be good on the waiver wire, because if you've got 3 studs, you need to build depth, so you better be a waiver wire player that year. If you go even, you need to be a good trading player because you've got depth, and I'm going to try to trade to Chad for an Odell Beckham or an elite player. I'm going to give him 3 players, help him fill out his roster so that I can get an Odell Beckham and maybe win. So, on that end after the draft, when you're building your team, if you're good on the waiver wire, then go more studs and duds. And if you're a great trader and you can haggle like Chad, then maybe go with a little bit more balanced team. And then the other thing is, if you want a player, get it.
Go get them.
Go get it.
Well, man, I mean, I think there's probably a lot that we probably that we didn't cover, but that's the basis. A lot of strategy there, and I mean, there's so much. I mean, it's so much fun. It's fresh. You got to do it. You got to try it. You got to just try it. Just do it.
Just do it. Auction Way is the way to go.
Well, hopefully we helped you guys a little bit with setup and all that kind of stuff. We're gonna pop off here. It's a little bit shorter show. We didn't get into players very much, but that's coming. We're gonna try to do. We're gonna have a little fun show next before the season starts. We're gonna do a little draft deal and go over some picks and where we're picking players and big thing now that everybody's paying attention to. I know I am is average draft position.
ADP.
That is a big thing now. You know, in years past, people, you know, we didn't have the technology that we have now to base it. You know, so yeah, it's a big deal now. Something you need to pay attention to. But we'll catch you guys on the flip side, and we appreciate you tuning in.